Sudesh sir, don't worry. I'll give a quick recap what we did in the next 2 minutes. Okay, Ravi Kumar sir, don't worry about that. Um, I will speak to my backend team, and as per my knowledge, I think there won't be any problem with that. I think last time, but now I don't think there is any problem. You can go ahead, but still I will inform to my backend team, and they will provide the appropriate information. Then I'll get back to you with the proper details. All right, sir. So because that data handling and registration process is actually there is separate team that take care of that thing. Sure. Okay. Yes, Nida sir. Yeah, thank you. So once again, I would like to say a big thanks, and once again, I would like to say, in fact, I welcome you all for today's session. And again, I request, before I start, I would like to say one statement. In fact, my recommendation, a strong recommendation, that throughout the session, any point that you feel that if you have any doubt or any queries or any questions, please feel free to ask your queries, or you can write it on your queries in the chat box, and I will try to answer your question. But because so many faculties are there, if I sometime multiple questions comes in the chat box, so some messages gets scrolled up, so older messages automatically gets scrolled up. So if I accidentally, if I missed any query to answer, so you can repost that. Definitely, I will try to answer your question. So, okay, sure, Vinod sir, thank you. No issues. Vinod sir, no issues. I'll be explaining all about that. Yeah. So, okay, sure. Rubaldeep, sure, I'll explain that part. Okay, Sunil said, actually, there is not much more in PPT. I will be more emphasizing on hands-on implementation. Only first beginning part is slightly on theory. On the very first day, I told you that only beginning part is theoretical, and rest everything is through hands-on implementation part. So in actually, just like nobody can learn swimming just by reading a book. We cannot learn driving a car just by reading a book. We need hands-on implementation. So I'll be more emphasizing on the hands-on implementation. And still, if you need this PPT, there is not more than in this PPT. These are just terminologies. That's all. So I'll share all the codes example. I can share everything. No issues. All right, Sunil sir. But I'll be more emphasizing on hands-on part. Thank you so much, Rohan sir, for such a lovely compliment. Thank you so much. Yes. Suganya ma'am, that's right. We'll be dealing with, I'll be showing the hands-on implementation of machine learning and deep learning both by using Python. Okay. So I think now we are done with that. So now I request, please allow me to start. And I think some of the faculties, they requested to give a recap. So in next 2 to 3 minutes, I'll give you a quick recap about what we did in previous session, so that those who missed our previous session, you can easily catch. So I request, at any example or any terminology that I'm using or I'm explaining, if you have any doubt or any confusion, please feel free to ask the questions. Please feel free. Okay, so thank you so much. So please allow me to just start with a small recap. So yesterday, I first of all explained what is data science. So whenever if somebody will ask what is data science, read it in reverse order. Read it in reverse order. It's a science of data. It's a science of data. So for what purpose this science is data science? So this data science deal with a scientific way to process, number one, to process, and number two, and analyze the data. So data science is a scientific way which deal with processing of data and analysis of the data, processing and analyzing the data. So yesterday I explained what does it mean by processing. Processing means if I have data, if we have some data in any format, if I'm converting this data into any other format. So conversion of data from one format to other format is all known as processing. Suppose I have the data of student reports where student name and marks, right? Name and marks are there. And if I calculated average marks of all students and I get one number like X, so I transform this data into one central number that is a mean value, that is X. So if I convert the data, if I do any processing, any computation, any changes, any transformation to the data, so that step is known as processing of data. That processing is processing of data. Yes. And after processing, we have to understand the data. After processing, we have to understand the data. Yes, Sonali ma'am, that I will explain today. That's the today's part that I have to explain. All right, Sonali ma'am, I'll explain that. So as I said that we have to do two tasks in this data science. Data science is all about how we can process the data, and after processing whatever we are getting, how to understand the data, how to understand and analyze the data, how to get insight about the data after processing. So whenever we talk about data science is all the techniques, everything, all the techniques that involves data. Anything that is based on data, it comes under the data science. So I'll say that data science is a scientific way to process and analyze the data. It's just by using scientific approach, we can analyze and process the data. Okay, and apart from that, I have yesterday explained that what is AI, what is ML, what is DL, and how AI, ML, DL is related with the data science. That's what I've explained with lots of examples. I explained what is the difference between machine learning and deep learning and how to decide when to use machine learning and when to use deep learning. So let me give a very quick recap because I could see that there are some faculty who missed that. So in next 2 to 3 minutes, I will conclude everything, whatever I have explained yesterday. So yesterday, first I discussed that what does it mean by intelligence. So I told yesterday, intelligence means the capability to make right decision at right time. And yesterday I gave an example of like driving a car, and if something suddenly comes in front of your car, so what will you do? One option is apply the brake suddenly, or we can turn left or turn right or apply. So after there are multiple, or you can speed up and then bypass, overtake. You can speed up from the left and overtake. So there are multiple options on that situation. But out of that multiple options, you have to choose the best available option on that position, on that time of instance. So intelligence means the capability to make right decision at right time, right? And I'll say that humans have the intelligence capability naturally. Humans have the capability of naturally. So human intelligence are naturally, natural phenomena due to the brain and the mind. Due to the brain, humans are intelligent naturally. So that's what I explained yesterday with this example. But now, let me clean this. Okay. Yeah. But now, I hope you remember yesterday I told you that suppose there is computer. In this FDP, what we are going to learn in this FDP, actually, how can we make machine also intelligent? How can we provide that power to the machine so that machine can also make right decision at right time the way human can do? Means I want my machine to be done those tasks that can be easily done by human being. So all the cognitive tasks that can be done by human being, I want it to be done by machine. So it means, just imagine if my machine also capable to make right decision right time, it means my machine is also capable to drive a car the way human can drive a car. Thank you so much, Sunil sir. Uh, Praveen Baiji, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Binay sir. Thank you. Very good evening. Neetu ma'am, attendance will be tracked automatically. Your your Zoom account you are logging into that is automatically captured through the log of the Zoom. All right, so there is no like separate process for attendance. That will be collected automatically. So when you connect via Zoom, so your in time, out time, and your duration of the session, everything is maintained through the log. Okay. So very good evening, sir. Thank you so much. Very good evening, ma'am. Thank you so much. So I was just giving a recap that what I explained yesterday. Thank you so much. Okay, okay, okay. No issue, Neetu, ma'am. It's okay. All right, Neelanji. Thank you so much. Very good evening. Suresh sir, thank you so much. Very good evening. Very good evening, Avinash sir. So here I was explaining. Thank you so much, Avinash sir. Very, very good evening, sir. Okay. Okay, Sheikh sir. Okay. So here, the last term that I explained yesterday is that we have to make our machine also intelligent. So if machine is also intelligent, the way humans are intelligent, so we'll say that machine is intelligent, but that intelligence power is not natural. The intelligence power of machine is not natural. And that intelligence power is known as AI. Artificial intelligence means if machine is capable to make right decision at right time, then we'll say that machine is intelligent artificially. Our machine is intelligent artificially. So yesterday I asked you that, okay, we have to make our machine also intelligent artificially, but the question is how? How can we make our machine intelligent? This was the question. This was the question, that how can we make our machine intelligent artificially? Why artificially? Because they are non-living thing, right? So natural intelligence is available with the living humans. But how can we make our machine intelligent artificially? So this question was answered by, the first answer was via machine learning. And second answer was via deep learning. Yes, yes, Harshdeep, exactly. That's right, exactly. Thank you, Jiten sir. Thank you so much. So these are the two practical approach. I repeat, these are the two ways that I explained yesterday, that we can make our machine intelligent via either machine learning or deep learning. And so that's what I explained yesterday. And one more thing, that very important thing that I've discussed with example, that if somebody will ask which one is better, deep learning or machine learning. So I'll say that, no, we cannot compare it. It's not comparable. And yesterday I explained that why it's not comparable with some examples, that these are the two different things. Like suppose I hope you remember I've given an example that if I ask you which one is better, fan or pen, if I ask you which one is better, so we can say, no, we cannot say that fan is better than pen or pen is better than. Why? Because their application domain is different. Their importance is based on the context. We cannot say pen is better than fan or fan is better than pen, right? Their usage context is different. So exactly the deep learning and machine learning, we cannot say that deep learning is better than machine. No, in some situations, your machine learning gives better accuracy than deep learning. No, Neetu ma'am. We cannot say that uh, amount of data. The amount of data is not the criteria to choose between deep learning and machine learning. Oh, my audio is not. My voice is not audible. Umang sir, you said that. I request, please give me confirmation. My voice is it audible? I think Umang sir said that it's not audible. Okay. So Umang sir, I request it could be possible that can you try to re-plug your headphone? That could solve the problem. Or I think everyone has confirmed that I am audible. Okay. All right, Umang sir. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you everyone for this confirmation. Thank you, sir. So that's what I told that. So these are the two ways through which we can make machine learning. And yesterday, and the last one more important part that I explained that what is structured data and what is unstructured data. So with lots of example in a very depth and detail, I explained that all the data of the universe, they are broadly into two categories. One is structured data and second was unstructured data. So that's what I explained all about. And finally, I told that if we have structured data, we will apply the machine learning. If we have unstructured data, then we'll go for deep learning. So I have explained with lots of example that in unstructured data, we include basically images, audio, video, and text. So these are the some type of data that I have explained yesterday with some example. So yes, that's right, that's right, exactly. So okay, I think yes, Subhash sir, I will say that I think Subhash sir has asked a very good question that how these concept came into the existence. Yes, I will answer it in a very from the very basics. I'll answer it. Okay, Neeraj sir, by the way, I had answered this question yesterday as well, but no issues. I will answer it one more time. That how text is unstructured data. Okay, so Neeraj sir, oops. Please just give me a second. Let me switch on my charging point. Just a second. Okay. So, Neeraj sir, you have asked that how text is unstructured. Okay. Okay. No issues. Neeraj sir, before that, I want to ask a question. Are you convinced that images are unstructured? Are you convinced that images are unstructured? Okay. So if you convince, then it is very easy. Suppose if I ask a question, okay, thank you, Neeraj sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for this confirmation. So Neeraj sir, suppose if I ask you the question, that write down a paragraph on pollution in India. Right? I want write down a paragraph pollution in India. And let's suppose I ask this task to be done by all the faculties. So I could see there are more than 300 faculty that this time currently connected with me. So if I ask, so this paragraph is written by first faculty member, this is the second member. So in that way, this is the third comment, fourth comment. So all these, suppose in that way, I got 300 comments. All right, sir. So all these 300 comments about pollution of India, so their content may not be same, but overall context will be the same, that all the comments are telling about pollution in India. But the context is all about pollution. Means the same information is available over here, is also available over here. This message is also all about pollution. The overall context, the conclusion of all these 300 messages will be the same, that we have the information about pollution. But their words are not going to be exactly same. So this common information is represented in a different of multiple formats. And that's why text is also known as unstructured data. Am I able to explain, Neeraj sir? Are you comfortable with that, Neeraj sir? Okay, okay. Thank you, Neeraj sir. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, thank you, Niti ma'am. You're welcome. Thank you so much. So yesterday I have explained all these things, that why images, and yesterday I told concept ROI. I told about ROI. So these are the some things, some of the terminologies that I explained. No, Himanshi ma'am, no. Data collected from Google. Data collected from Google. If you are collecting, I think that's really very good question. Himanshi ma'am, suppose if you are collecting age, if you are collecting city, if you are collecting state, if you are collecting college, right, like this. So these informations are, I'll say that, structured data. But suppose there is a column remark. So the value of remark is going to be that, because that will contain text values. If you have upload your picture, photograph, upload your picture, photograph. So the data of photograph, the data of remark, the data of suggestion, the data of feedback, they all comes under unstructured. All right, ma'am. So actually Google Form is the way to collect the data. So it doesn't mean that if we are collecting via Google Form, it doesn't mean that the data is structured or unstructured. The data is structured or unstructured. It's all based on the nature of the data. Yes, Pooja ma'am, again I will say that no, Excel is a way. Excel is a way. I'll say that Excel is a way to store. Let's suppose in Excel there is a column remark, and everybody has written a remark of 300 words. So all the values of remark column, I will say that that is unstructured data. All right, Pooja ma'am. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Arumugamji. Thank you so much. Yes, 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 yes. Exactly. I agreed, Tara ma'am. Tara ma'am, I hope you remember yesterday when I explained the difference between that, whenever I explain this. So this is one of the criteria that, okay, that we can store rows and column. And ma'am, when I'll explain about deep learning, then I will say that images are also a tabular data. I will say when I'll teach about deep learning, then I will say that images are also tabular data. I hope you remember I told that we have an image of 8 by 8. So 8 by 8 is what? 8 rows and 8 columns. So images are also can be stored into, but that's not important. The important is its ROI is not structured. Its ROI is not structured. Yes. So exactly same way, your column is the remark column is the data where you are storing, but context, suppose this message is all about pollution, this message is all about something other, this is like politics, it is related with the politics, this comment is all about sports, this comment is all about technology. All right, so this column is kind of one image, but in this image ROI is not same. ROI, suppose all 300 faculties have written, and remark about pollution. But suppose this faculty have written about population, this faculty has written about technology, this pollution have written about sports. Okay. All right. So That's just the way Excel, SQL Server, they all are just the way they are the platform where we can store the data. But the nature of the data that I'm storing, that is structured or non-structured, it depends upon its nature. So the easiest way, and the easiest way is if it is a text, kind of like WhatsApp text, right? And it's WhatsApp text. See, one more thing. If I ask all the people to enter city, so what city I'll write? I'll write suppose Delhi, like Kanpur, Lucknow. So can you see that this column still contains text? Still, but it is not unstructured. It is not. It is not unstructured. This is not unstructured. So, in fact, this is a kind of categorical values or discrete categorical values. So, if data is in the format of paragraph, like WhatsApp messages is an example of unstructured. If you set some status of your WhatsApp, if you send some remark on the Twitter and post, so anything in the terms of paragraph, right, where the amount is not fixed. So can you see that if I write uh, here like name, here if I write name, so all the names are even, they are not categorical, but still this is a name, this is a name, this is, so context of all the column, all the values are same. The context, and that context already given that all the column contains name. And imagine, suppose there is a column and the column is remark. Suppose if I ask you that all the faculty please write a remark. So it could be possible that one faculty might write remark about pollution in India. Second faculty might write also pollution. Third one is writing about technology in India. Next is sports, even in India. So these data do not contain a similar structure. Their reason of interest is not same. Yes, yes. Yes, Jyoti ma'am, did I miss your question? Yes, I think topic you have written a very fantastic one abstract picture you have given that not, you cannot say that single word. Suppose there are name, city name and or state name, but some of the states they have more than one words. All right. So we cannot say that if more than one words means, you can say if we have a paragraph kind of thing, essay kind of thing, messages, remarks, these kind of things are actually unstructured. Okay. I think there is, let me tell you that there is one more format. I think most of the faculties are asking the question. So structured data and unstructured data, in between that, there is one more format that is semi-structured data. And its example is XML. Sir, XML, I'm sure that most of you are, like those who are not from CS background, they might not be familiar with XML, or I'll say it is similar to like HTML. But I'm sure that those who are from the CS background, you all, everybody knows about XML. So, yeah, so from, I'll say that XML comes under semi-structure. Why? It is not in the format of row and column, but still every data contains metadata. Every data contains metadata, and that's why it is known as semi-structured. Yes, yes. Okay, so anyway, I have explained all these terminologies, and I told you that for unstructured data, we have to apply deep learning, and for structured data, we have to apply machine learning. And finally, the last point that I explained, that the intersection of this, can you see that this bubble that I have drawn, This intersection is known as data science. This intersection is known as data science. So that was the last topic that data science. That was the last topic that I discussed, data science. So, and when in the last, at the end of the session, when I had drawn this, one of the faculty member has asked the question that why this intersection? There was one question that one of the faculty member has asked, that why there are the two parts. So I remember, I hope you remember, I told that this circle we can divide into two parts. Number one is this outer part, and number two is this inner part. Number one is outer part, and number two is this inner part. So now let me tell you that what was the actual purpose of data science. The data science is a way for, it's a scientific way for processing, and after processing, what we have to do, we have to do the analysis. We have to do the analysis. So ultimately in data science, the end part is that we have to, after processing, we have to analyze the data. Now the thing is, what does it mean by analyze? Analyze means to understand the data, to get some meaning from the data, to get some information from the data. That's all is all about analyzing the data. So if I ask you that in data science, what we have to do? So simply we have to analyze the data. So this analysis, the science of analysis is also known as data analytics. Data analytics. This process of analyzing the data, the process of analyzing the data is known as data analytics. So let me clean everything, and let me clean. And I will simply write like this. Thus, this is the data science. And I will say that this data science, what we are going to do in this data science, we are going to do the data analytics we are going to analyze the data. We are going to analyze the data in a scientific way. So data analytics is kind of, yes, Arnav sir, that's right. And that's why, because their way and methodologies are different. And that's why for unstructured, we have entirely different approach. And that's why this different approach is named as deep learning. All right, Arnav sir? And if it is structured data, that is quite easier. But again, we cannot say that it's easier. But of course, machine learning algorithms, they normally get trained much easier in less span of time. And the algorithm of deep learning, they takes much more longer time to converge and to get trained. All right, sir. So I'll say that from complexity point of view, from training point of view, of course, in deep learning, the system has to learn a lot for getting more accuracy. Okay, so I'll say that in data science, what we are going to do, we are going to do the data analytics. Data analytics. So I'll say that if I ask you the question in data science, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? So in data science, we are going to analyze the data. So the process of analyzing the data is also known as data analytics. So data analytics is the part of data science. I repeat, data analytics is the part of data science. And this data analytics is broadly divided into two parts. I'll say that the data analytics that we done under the data science, I repeat, the data analytics that we done under the data science is broadly divided into two categories. Is broadly divided into two categories. So let me write it. Number one is, see, they are not exactly two. So we can say that data analytics that we do in the data science in a two ways. Number one is, I'll say number one is descriptive. Descriptive analytics. And number 2 is predictive analytics. See, we'll talk about these two broad categories, that data analytics that we done under the data science, the data analytics that we done under the data science is broadly two types. Now look at this. I said that this complete is the data science, and this data science, we can do the data analysis part, and that data analysis can be done inside the data science. This data analysis can be done into two modes. One is descriptive analytics, this is the part one, and two is the predictive analytics. Right? So this entire is the data science. I like this entire outer in this cell, that green colored cell that I've drawn, it is data science. Now, can you tell me that, look at this, can you say that AI is the part of this part two? AI comes under the part two of the data science. Can we say like that? Right? Similarly, machine learning also comes under the part two of the data science. I repeat, machine learning also comes under the part two. Deep learning also comes under part two. AI, ML, and DL, they do not, I'll say that they do not include the part one. They all include the part number two. So if I say that AI is the part of what? AI is the part of predictive analytics. So inside the predictive analytics, what do we study? We basically study AI. Inside the predictive analytics, what do we use? We'll use AI. But AI is a concept that we have to make our machine intelligent. Now the question, how? So either through machine learning or through deep learning. Now this one is descriptive analytics. Number one is descriptive analytics. Now let me explain that what does it mean by descriptive analytics and what does it mean by predictive analytics. And I'll explain with one use case example. All right, let me explain with one use case example. Let me open. Let me open. Yes. All right. Yeah. So now look at this very interesting example. I'm going to explain you that what is the difference between descriptive analytics and predictive analytics. But before that, let me show you something interesting part. Okay, so I think till now, I've already explained what is AI. I already explained inside the AI in the Venn diagram, we have seen the machine learning and then we had the deep learning. And I also explained that data science. So in data science, what we are going to do, we are going to analyze the data by using the data science. We are going to analyze the data by using data science. So the process of analyzing the data is also known as data analytics. And this is broadly divided into two categories. Actually, there are a few more categories, but right now I'll be discussing these two categories. One is descriptive analytics and second is predictive analytics. Descriptive analytics and predictive. So let's understand that what does it mean by descriptive analytics and predictive analytics. Let's come back. Okay. So that's what I'm going to explain. Okay, so under the data science, what is descriptive, what is predictive? That's what we need to understand. Just keep in mind that what is our objective. So I'll explain with one use case example. So just imagine we have some data. This is some random, some dummy data is given. And I'll say that this is some weather report data. This is some weather report data. And this weather report data is old record data. I repeat, this is something, I'll say that it is old recorded data, right? Old data, or I'll say that, okay, old data. I hope you remember yesterday I told that some terminologies that I have drawn, I have designed, I have invented. So few other terminology you might not found anywhere in the internet. And there are some examples that I'll be explaining. It could be possible that you won't find anywhere on the internet because those are designed and invented by me only. So in any one of the examples, if you have any queries, so please feel free to just you can write on your queries. I will definitely help you to understand all those concepts. I'm saying that just imagine that we have this one weather report data, and old data means, let's suppose this data belongs to 2019, January 2019, for example. See, I have written so that in your brain, if you look this data, immediately the picture should come to your mind that I am talking about some old data. I have written this date, year and month, so that if you look at this data, a picture should strike to your brain that I'm talking about some old data, past data, also known as historical data. And it's all about January 2019. So what is this value in the first column? It is the date of the January. It is the date of the January, right? And as I said that this is the weather report data, right? This is the weather report data. And in this weather report data, X represent the date. X represent the date, like 1st of January, 2nd of January, 3rd. This is representing date. And the second column represents the rainfall. Rainfall in millimeter. That now you can see that this data tells us that on 1st of January, our some IoT sensor in 2019, please remember, we are talking about old data. We are talking about old data, all right? So now I said that in 1st January 2019, our IoT sensor, some weather report sensor data has recorded 1 mm of rainfall. On 2nd of January, again, this is the old data, 2nd January 2019, our sensor recorded 4 mm of rainfall. In that way, I'll say that we had some old data. Now, if I ask you for descriptive analytics, if I ask you to do the descriptive analytics, so what is descriptive analytics? Descriptive analytics means analyze the old data. Please, again, I have already written this data is old data. It means we are on the right track. So descriptive analytics means analyze the old data, and after analysis, get some conclusion about what was happened in the past. I repeat, what is descriptive analytics? Descriptive analytics says that analyze, process and analyze the old data and tell me something about what was happened in the past. So descriptive analytics is all about analyze the old data and tell me some hidden facts about old time, about that old event. Whatever has been past, tell me something about that past, that what was happened. That's all about descriptive analytics. Yes, I think that's exactly. So that's why, yes, Rohan sir, exactly. And that's why his name is written like description, means we are describing, by using old data, we are describing that what was happened in the past. What was happened in the past. All right, that's what is the descriptive analytics. I repeat, descriptive analytics means analyze, process and analyze the old data and tell us some conclusions about the old data. For example, let's suppose we have very very minute observation. We did some minute observation, and let me clean it first. Okay. So now suppose we have done very minute observation over here, and we have seen that in the January 2019, our average rain, suppose average rain is X mm, some amount is there. Let's suppose we got X amount of average rain. And after calculating average, we found that last to last year, in the month of January, in the winters, in the month of January, we had a good rain. We had a very good rain in the past. Right? So once again, I'm telling that by analyzing the old data, we are getting some value, and this value tells us that in January last year, we got a very good rain. So this conclusion is all about what was happened in the past. That's the descriptive analytics. Taraji, I'll just give me 2-3 minutes more. I will come to your answer. Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I think so many faculty intuitively, they will get this question. So I'll answer it. Just give me allow me a few more minutes. So once again, what is descriptive analytics? Analyze the old data and get some conclusion about what was happened in the past. Okay, now I'm going to explain all about rule number 2, that what is predictive analytics. Now imagine, now if I say that we have the data, and this time the type of this type of data is not only 2019 January. Such type of data we have from last 50 years of data. We have last 50 years of data. I repeat, we have last 50 years of data. And if I ask you that, analyze this old data. Again, please remember, again, I'm talking about this is also 50 years, last 50 years data is also old data. This last 50 years of data is also my old data. But now if I say, analyze this last 50 years of data and tell me that in future, tomorrow in future, how much rain we are going to expect? How much rain we are going to expect? Tell me that tomorrow in future, how much rain we are going to expect? That is predictive analytics. That is predictive analytics. So descriptive analytics, yes, Bharti ma'am. So did you notice that in both the cases, we need to analyze the old data. In both the cases, we need to analyze the old data. But after analyzing the old data, if we are making some prediction about future, or we are finding some unknown value, we are finding some value that is not yet known to us, and that finding that unknown value, future value, is known as predictive value. Sir, let me give a very excellent example. In IRCTC, I hope you must have seen, I would say from last 2 years when the COVID started, I'm sure that most of the people, they avoided traveling, but I'm sure at least before COVID, I'm sure that most of you have done some traveling by train. So if you have done the train traveling, and definitely if you try to book the ticket in IRCTC, I'm sure that you must have seen a feature in IRCTC that if you try to book a train ticket in a train for which the seats are already in wait list. So if you try to book a waiting list ticket, so IRCTC will tell you, even before booking the ticket, even before booking your train ticket, even before making your payment, IRCTC will tell you well in advance that if you book this wait list ticket, then this ticket will confirm or not confirm in the future. That, yes, exactly, Franz, that's right. So that is all predictive analytics. Yes, Vinod sir. The data, see, data science is a different term. Data science means if you do anything with data, that comes under data science. If you do anything with the data, but what we are doing by analyzing the data, if you are telling some fact about what was happened in the past, that is descriptive analytics. Yes, I think Sunil sir has written a very fantastic formula. That's really impressive. Can say wherever probability for finding some unknown values the predictive. Exactly. I think Sunil sir has written a very creative way of writing this. So Sunil sir, I'll be using your formula for my future sessions. I think this is really very good formula. I think probability is predictive. Exactly. That what is going to happen in the future or whenever we need to find something that I hope you must have seen in your mobile app, you must have like weather report app like AccuWeather or some other weather report app. They can tell you well in advance, like after 2 days, after 3 days, will it be rain or not? Will it be a sunny day or not? So they all comes under predictive analytics. They all comes under predictive analytics. All right. So now I request everyone. Yes, exactly, Suchita ma'am. That forecasting is purely predictive analytics. That's purely predictive analytics. Fuzzy logic is slightly different. Fuzzy logic is slightly different. Actually, right now we are not going to discuss that. Is slightly different about fuzzy logic, but that also comes under the, we can say, kind of a predictive. That comes under the predictive, where we cannot get exact answer. All right, so basically inside the unsupervised, we sometimes we deal with the unsupervised clustering way if we have a fuzzy kind of fuzzy logic when we have to apply. So anyway, like yes. No, predictive analytics logics are different thing. This is the type of analytics that we done in yeah. So in a very simple way, let me clear it. Let me explain it one more time. By analyzing the old historical data, if you are telling something about this old data, something extra information about that we had the good rain or the rain was not very good. So this kind of data is all about right. So that is all about this. If we are describing the old data, that is descriptive. But by using old data, we are making some future prediction. That is predictive analytics. All right. So I request Magin sir, in the beginning today, I gave a complete recap of what I did yesterday. Did you miss that recap part of that I explained today in the beginning session, sir? Okay. No issues. I'll try to find out some solutions. Sure. No issues. So okay. So, but before that, I request everyone, please give me confirmation. Are you able to understand the difference between descriptive analytics and predictive analytics? Please give me a confirmation so that I'll be ensured that I'm able to explain to everyone what is descriptive, what is predictive. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much for such a compliment, Rajan sir. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you, Nida sir. Thank you, Vinod sir. Thank you, Vinod Kumar sir. Thank you, Nidhi ma'am. Thank you so much for such a lovely compliment. No. Jobin sir, that is predictive. That is predictive. That what person is going to buy in the future, whether the person will buy milk or bread, right? So based on future past data, if you're making guess about future, that is all predictive analytics. Thank you so much, Sudhir sir, for such a lovely compliment. Thank you so much. Yes, Aruna ma'am, that's right. There is only a small correction, Aruna ma'am, that for predictive analysis of old data, analyze the old data to find out future outcome or unknown outcome. Rather than ma'am predicting current value, we can say future value or unknown value. Better you can use unknown value. So unknown value could be anything, either future or current value. Okay, thank you so much. I think, Rohan sir, you have written a very innovative compliment. Thank you so much. No, Pooja ma'am. Actually, old data is required for both. For both, we need old data. For descriptive also, we need old data. For predictive also, we need old data. But by using old data, what we are telling, if we are telling something about the old data, if you're describing something about the old data, that is, Miss, ma'am, suppose this is the data of 2019, right? And I'm telling that in 2019, we had a very poor rainfall, or we had a very good rainfall. We have a very good rainfall, very heavy rainfall. So this information is conclusion from this data. But this conclusion is all about this past event, past event. But if you are writing a code in a such a way that my logic can tell me that what is going to happen in the future, so that is predictive. Yes, data mining also comes under this part, data science. Basically, we deal with the unsupervised machine learning. Yes, Prakash sir. Okay, I think that's again a very good question. I think Tamil Rasiji, that you have asked a very question that what is the need of that data? Okay, so thank you so much. Uh, please just give me a second. Just give me a second, please. I just need one. All right. Uh, yes, I request, can we have a small bio break for 3 to 4 minutes? I just need a small bio break or 4 minute, or let's have a small 5 minute of bio break. Okay, so I request, please let's have a small 5 minute of bio break. I'll be back in 5 minutes, please. Please. Right. I'm back. Please, I request, just give me a confirmation. Am I audible? Yeah, yeah. Yes, Arnav, ma'am, I'm back. Okay. 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 Thank you so much for such a nice cooperation. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay. So, before this small bio break, I explained that what is descriptive analytics, what is predictive analytics. But let me tell you, apart from that, apart from that, uh, we have few more type of analytics. One is, I'll say that, diagnostic analytics. Diagnostic analytics. And one more is that prescriptive analytics. Prescriptive analytics. Prescriptive analytics. So these are some more type of analytics. I'll be explaining with that. But before that, let me open. Yeah. Yeah. So I was explaining this one. Let me play this. Okay. Yeah. So here I said that this entire bubble is I'll say data science. And in this data science, this outer part is known as descriptive analytics. And this entire inner part is known as predictive analytics. This part is the predictive. I'll say that this is the descriptive analytics and this is predictive analytics. So now you can see that AI, AI is the part of predictive analytics of data science. All right, AI is the part of predictive analytics of data science. So if you have to apply the descriptive analytics, this part, for this part, we need the basic knowledge of statistics, and it can be done on Excel also. Descriptive analytics can be done on Excel also. Some basic level of, in fact, good, even give good level of this descriptive analytics now can be done in Excel and advanced Excel. But apart from Excel, we have some more feature-rich tools like Tableau. Number one is Tableau. Apart from Tableau, we have Power BI, Power Business Intelligence, Power BI, Tableau. We have SAS, we have SPSS. So these are the tools. Apart from Excel, we have some other tools through which we can do this descriptive analytics. But for predictive analytics, we need to apply the AI, and then you need to write down some logics. And that logics can be written either by using the concept of machine learning or by using deep learning. So I hope now this concept, I'm sure that this concept is easily understandable, that what is data science and what is predictive analytics, what is descriptive analytics. Now, if my question is, can we say deep learning is the part of predictive analytics of data science? Can we say like that? Deep learning is the part of predictive analytics of data science. Can we say like that? Are you agree with me? Okay. Okay. So, okay. All right. So in this FDP, we are going to more emphasize on predictive analytics of the data science part. We'll cover a small part of descriptive analytics, but maximum part will be dealing with the predictive analytics of the data science. We'll be dealing with the predictive analytics. And for descriptive analytics, you can do that. A small scale of descriptive analytics can be easily done in Excel also. You don't need all these algorithm of neural network, LSTM, get a neural network. You don't need all these things, CNN, or you don't need all these CNN convolution neural network. You don't need all the kernel techniques. Uh, you don't need SVM, you don't need Canon. So if you have to do apply only for descriptive analytics, you can do it in simple Excel as well, or through the data visualization tools. There are lots of tools through which you can do that. Apart from, other than Excel, we have some more tools out there. But when we come back to the predictive analytics, then we need to write down the logic. Now for predictive analytics part, and as I said that apart from predictive analytics, we have another, I'll say the third category, that is, let me write. Third category is diagnostic analytics. And the fourth one is prescriptive analytics. Prescriptive analytics. So what does it mean by this? So let me again explain it with the help of example. Let's suppose if somebody is not feeling well, if some person is not feeling well, right? Then this person will definitely consult with the doctor. This person will go to the doctor. So this person will tell that, okay, I'm not feeling well. So what doctor will do? Doctor will try to find out the problem. Is doctor will diagnose the problem. Doctor will ask that, are you feeling fever? Doctor will say that, okay, go for some COVID test, go for some blood test, urine test. So there are different type of tests that doctor will ask to do, and based on their reports, doctor will diagnose the problem, that this person is having malaria, or this person is having dengue, or this person is having COVID, why this person is having fever. So this doctor will try to find out the root cause problem. So when you try to find out the root cause problem, the cause of a problem, that is known as diagnostic analytics. Now let me explain from the industrial use point of view. From the industrial use point of view, I will say that let's suppose there is one organization. Let me draw it. There is one organization, and this organization is putting lots of effort. This organization is putting lots of, I'll say that organization is putting lots of effort, lots of advertisement, lots of investment, and lots of effort in terms of money and time is applied in this organization. But from this organization, we are not able to get very good output. Not this organization, even after putting such a branding, promotion, investing, and all employees are putting effort, but still this organization is not able to make good profit. Right? This organization is not able to make a good profit. So why this organization is not making good profit? So what we'll do, this organization will contact one data scientist. They will contact with the data scientist, and data scientists will analyze all the data to tell and to find out and to tell that why this organization is not getting proper profit even after all these putting efforts. So that's the diagnostic analytics. Okay, so next is prescriptive analytics. So what does it mean by prescriptive analytics? Let me explain it again with a very simple example. Suppose there is a patient, there is a person, and this person is not feeling well. So this person went to the doctor, and doctor has diagnosed lots of things. And after diagnosis, this doctor declared that this person is COVID positive. Right? This person is COVID positive. For example, I'm just taking one hypothetical assumption that a doctor diagnosed that this person is COVID positive. So now what this person will say? Now this person will ask the doctor that, okay, doctor, if I'm COVID positive, now tell me what should I do so that I can overcome from this problem. So what doctor will do? Doctor will write down some prescription on the paper. All right. Doctor will provide some prescription that you take these medicines, you take some paracetamol, you take some zinc, you take some vitamin C, you take some these medicines. So doctor will prescribe that what this person should do so that this person should get rid of this problem. So this time doctors prescribing some solution to the patient. That is prescriptive analytics. Now let me explain from industrial point of view. Let me give a very interesting and fascinating example you can easily understand. So again, I'm talking about the same organization for which I have taken the last time example that yes, Ranjan sir, exactly. Yes, Vinod sir, exactly. I think that's fantastic, Niyam. That's right. Diagnostic means find out the root cause of the problem. And let me give you another example of prescriptive analytics. That suppose there is an organization. Yes, Rubel Deep sir, sure. I'm giving this prescriptive. Prescriptive. Provide the solution. Like suppose there is an organization, and this organization is again putting lots of effort, time, money, investment, people, all things are there, but they are getting very less output. Suppose they're getting a profit of only 5 crores of rupees. For example, let's say one dummy data is this organization is able to make 5 crores of rupees of profit. Yes. Afrin sir, actually, Afrin Subiji, I will say that there is small correction. I'll say that. Malti ji. Yes. Malti ma'am, that's right. After diagnostic, then only we can do the like prescript exactly. So suppose this company is making a profit of like $5 million or 5 crores of 5 million rupees or 5 millions of dollars as a turnover. But the company, they will contact with one data scientist and they will say that, tell me what should we do so that my profit should increase from $5 million to $15 million. What we should do that so that we can increase the profit. What changes we should do in the organization so that we can increase the profit from 5 to 15. And then the data scientist will do some prescription. That is prescriptive analytics. That is prescriptive analytics. Jyoti ma'am, that is simply predictive analytics. Means if we are finding that which stock are we going to purchase, that whether this stock has to purchase or not to purchase, that suggestion is purely predictive analytics, right? See, before in advance, if I get to know that one share, a share of a specific company is going to lose. So of course, if I'll get to know well in advance, I'm not going to purchase that share. If I get to know already well in advance that the share of this XY company is going to increase at a very high speed, so I'll definitely purchase that. So that's all about predictive analytics. But there is a good news. There's a good news that all these predictive analytics, diagnostic analytics, and prescriptive analytics, for all these things, you don't need to learn 3 separate syllabus. Their syllabus is common, that you have to learn AI. For using descriptive analytics, descriptive analysis just to describe the data, that's all. Diagnostic is slightly different. For diagnostic also, we need to do some sort of, we need to take the help of like descriptive as well as some machine learning or deep learning, both is required. It's a combination. It's a combination. But the thing is, the best part is that the syllabus is not different. It's not like that the syllabus of this one. You have to study the same thing. Even if you have to go for this one, you have to study the same thing, AI. Even if you have to go for this one, you have to study the AI. Even if you have to study for predictive, you have to learn the one thing, that is AI. All right. So I request everyone, please give me confirmation. Are you able to, am I able to explain the difference between diagnostic and prescriptive analytics? Are you comfortable with that? Yes, 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 yes. And if you include descriptive analytics, then that is the data science. That is the data science. That's the. I think Pooja ma'am, you have written a very fantastic formula. I could see that here in this FDP, I could see that uh, I'm getting very innovative, in fact, and very creative and innovative answers and examples. Miss, not only queries, I'm getting lots of favor from many faculty member in a very innovative and very creative way. That's really impressive. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, CV Saran, that's right. In fact, for predictive analytics also, first we need to describe the data. Miss, it's not like that you can do directly predictive analytics. No. So in fact, all these type of terminologies, all this, see, it is something like if I say that you have to swim and there are 4 ways of swimming. See, ultimately you need to learn how to get into the water. Like as I say that we have a free wave, we have butterfly stroke, we have breaststroke, we have a backstroke. So these are the 4 ways of swimming, right? But ultimately you have to learn only one thing, how to get into the water. Exactly same way, all the type of analytics that I told you, you don't need to learn something else. You have to learn only one thing, that is AI. So I hope I have tried to explain all these concepts. Now we are coming back. I'll suggest that if you want to learn AI, start learning from machine learning. Because once if you're comfortable with this, do not consider that deep learning is a subset of machine learning. No, this is not subset. You can assume that there is one tray, one plate. On this plate, there is another plate. On this plate, there is another plate. So who is the topmost plate? I say that this third plate is the topmost plate, right? But do not consider that this is the, I say the subset of this one. No. Here, deep learning is the next level of machine learning. Deep learning, the next level. So all the concept that you will learn in machine learning also to be used in deep learning plus one more topic. I will say that AI, we can say that AI broadly as per this, we can say AI, we can say that ML plus DL. That is AI. ML plus DL. This entire AI can be broadly categorized ML plus DL. So if you want to learn, then first start learning with the machine learning, then we can go ahead with the deep learning. Because most of the concept that you will learn in machine learning, they are the fundamental of deep learning. So all the concept that we require in machine learning, we need to use plus one topic, and that topic is concept of perceptron. That's all. I repeat, in deep learning, you have to use all the concepts of many concepts of machine learning plus one extra topic, one topic. And please don't think that this one topic is a very small topic. Again, itself is a very big topic. The topic name is the concept of perceptron. That extra topic is concept of perceptron, but now also known as concept of neurons or neural network. Pooja ma'am, here I will say that yes, Pooja ma'am, I'll say that you should not use the word superset or subset. Better, the more appropriate term that I suggest that we can use the term that deep learning is the next level. Why next? Why? Because its application domain is different thing. It is not something like we cannot compare the deep learning with the machine learning, because it's not like that everywhere. If it is a subset or superset, doesn't mean that everywhere we can deep learning can be used. No. If there are two projects, P1 and P2, so if P1 is having structured data, and if I apply deep learning, this project is not going to give us a very good accuracy. Right? Their purpose so totally different. This P2 project, so deep learning is only available for this P2 if the data for P2 is unstructured data. So that's why I will say that you should say that deep learning is the next level of, I'll say this is the level 1, this is the level 2, and the purpose of level 1 is for something else, purpose of level 2 is something else. But if you want to learn deep learning, I highly recommend that first you learn machine learning. First you learn, if you want a very better understanding, then this should be the recommended, that first you go through machine learning and then you can go for deep learning. Okay, so no. Tarachan sir, of course we can apply. We can apply. I think that's a very good question. Yes, Arjinder Singh, that's right. You have written, that's correct. With the help of AI, and AI includes both of them. That's right, sir. And one question that was asked by Tarajan sir, that's really a very good question. That let me draw something so that I can explain it. Suppose there is two data. One, this data is my structured data, as that structured data. And second one is, again, I'll draw it and I'll say that unstructured data. Unstructured data. So now I request, please read the question that was asked by Tarachand sir. I think this is really very good question. Tarachand sir has straightforward, he has asked the question. So Tarachand sir has straightforward, he has asked the question, can't apply deep learning on structured data? I hope Tarachand sir, am I right? I think that's what the question, that can't we use this deep learning on structured data? What ideally I told that deep learning has to be applied on unstructured and machine. That's what I told. But Tarachand sir has said that can't we apply deep learning on structured? So if you say that if we are if you are forced to use, so answer is we can. If you ask that, can't we use deep learning? Can't we use? So if the question is that can or not, can we or we cannot? So answer is yes, we can. But as I said that, there is a great difference between deep learning and machine learning that we can do, but that's a very complicated. In fact, sometimes deep learning do not produce very good accuracy on structured data, right? So when deep learning is going to get a very good structure, when the data columns are too big. Suppose, Tarajan said, let's suppose I have a data. In that data, I have only 6 or 7 columns. Let's suppose I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have only 7 columns of data. Deep learning is not useful when number of columns are less. Deep learning is always useful when number of columns are too much. Like suppose we have 4,000 columns. I have a data where number of columns are 4,000, or number of columns are 200, or number of columns are 700, number of columns are 784. So number of columns are huge. Ideally, then we should go for deep learning. I repeat, even if your data, I think Tarachand sir has asked a very, very innovative question that, let's suppose if I have a data and data is in a structured format, but total number of columns are 4,000. Then in that case, even though the data is structured, that will be good practice that you should first start with. You should first start with deep learning rather than machine learning. So actually the main criteria to distinguish is, let me tell you that there is some technical complexities in machine learning, and that problem has been solved by deep learning. Let me explain with the example why I said that. If number of columns are too much, even the data is structured, then deep learning is going to perform much better, much better. But if number of columns are less, then you will go for machine learning. So why I said that unstructured data we have to follow, because all the unstructured data, like images. So nowadays, if you click a picture from the images, I'm sure that you have seen one picture is of like 5 MB of size. So just suppose there are 1,000 pixel images there, 1,000 by 1,000. So if we inflate, so that will be like 10 to the power 6 pixel base. There will be, can you say, 1 lakh column will be there. There will be 1 lakh columns will be there. So normally when we inflate an image, inflate means arrange all the pixels side by side, arrange all the pixels. So normally whenever we have images, automatically number of columns gets increased. But I'm saying that even if you have structured data and number of columns are too much, then also you should better to go with the deep learning. Or another way is, from 4,000, find out the important few columns, like out of 400, you selected like only 30 columns are important. Remaining out of 4,000, remaining columns are not important. So either you select those 30 important columns manually, and then you can go for machine learning. And if you cannot find out the 30 important columns, technically in machine learning, that is known as feature selection. Feature selection means find out the important column, or I'll say region of interest. ROI selection has to be done manually in the machine learning. So let me yes, I think very good. I think Ranjan sir, I think this is one of the first time I got such an innovative example to explain this topic. I really appreciate that. This is a very fantastic example. Ranjan sir, I need your permission. I want to include your example in my PPT. I want to include your example in my PPT. Please let me copy it. I think this really very interesting example. I will, let me copy it. Otherwise, I might forget. Just a minute. I think this is really very interesting and innovative example that was invented by so Ranjan sir, I just I want to use your example in my upcoming part. I think this is a very innovative example. That's right. So yes. So okay, let me explain. Let me show you the basic difference. Just a minute. Back to the yes. Can you see this slide? In this slide, what is the basic difference between machine learning and deep learning? The basic difference is, in machine learning, the ROI selection is to be done manually by the programmer, by the data scientist. Means if we have 1 million photographs, or suppose if you have 1 million photographs, so from every photograph, I have to manually mark and select that pixel. Manually mark and select that. Why? Because all pixels are not important. So in machine learning, I cannot use data set. I cannot use this small ROI selection is to be done manually. Now compare it in this example. This process is taken care by this science, the mathematics, the technique that we are using. Here, the ROI selection is not to be done manually. This algorithm, this logic will do automatically. This logic will automatically discard all these pixels which are not important for us. That is useless for us. All right, I think, yes, exactly. I think here we have kind of a more sparse data. When we have a more sparse data, or I'll say that here, here out of all space of the data, that ROI is the small part, and that ROI structure is also not fixed in that situation. So that is the main criteria, and why I said that we should go for deep learning for unstructured, because all unstructured data, suppose there is an image of 3 by 3 pixel. And one more thing, in this FDP, whenever I'll use inflate the image. So what does it mean by inflate the image? So like suppose this is a 1, 2, 3, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So inflate means this is the first row. So 1, 2, 3. Put another row, 4, 5, 6. Put another row side by side like this. 4, 5, 6. Then 7, 8, 9. So can you see that this 3 by 3 matrix is finally converted to 1 by 1 row by 9 column, 1 by 9 column. So ultimately it was 3 by 3 and it was converted to, so every pixel will become one column. But whenever you take a picture, nowadays if you take a picture from DSLR or from a normal camera, so their picture is of 5 MB. Means can you imagine that, like 10 to the power 6 or 10 to the power 8 or 12 is the length, and then 10 to the power 6. This is the resolution of the image. So can you see that if I inflate this image, how many huge number of columns is going to be there? Yes, exactly, Rohan sir. Exactly. We can say that deep learning is developed to solve this feature detection problem. But this technique is only going to work when the feature space is used. Feature space means when complete data set is used, but out of huge data set, I have to use small part of the useful data. So that's why deep learning is evolved from the machine. And that's why I said that you should always, if you want to learn this deep learning, you should also first go through the machine learning, and then you should start with learning. So this is just my recommendation, but again, you can go directly as well. But I have seen that if somebody start learning deep learning directly, so normally people find difficulties because so many terminologies that we are using from this machine learning. Yes, that's right. Very impressive. We can, when we have to search a pearl in the ocean, use DL. Fantastic. Impressive, Rohan sir. Impressive. I'm really impressed the way you all are, in fact, interacting, and you all really made this session very, very interactive, a very lively session. And see, I asked that in the beginning, I already said that at any point of time, if you have some innovative ideas, or if you have some more example, if you want to add some example, so all your example, innovative and creative examples are always welcome from my side. So not only queries, if you have something more to tell, so you can easily, I always welcome your suggestion and example. That's really, yeah, sure, Neeraj sir, sure, definitely, sir. So now one more thing. Okay, sure. Okay, Neeraj sir, I'll share it. No issues. So for tomorrow's session, I need you to do some softwares to be downloaded for that is required for hands-on implementations. Let me write. I'm writing it. So for tomorrow's session, we need some tools and some softwares. Let me open that. Open. So for this hands-on implementations, uh, yeah, for this hands-on implementations, we can do, yes, sure. And no. Avik Mukherjee, ji, please just give me a few minutes. I'll explain that. I'll say that for hands-on implementation, we have three ways. In fact, this is the first method, this is the second method, and this is the third ways. So there are three ways for hands-on implementation of all these examples of data science. First method is we have to use Python. We have to use Python, number one. And apart from Python, we also need IDE. But again, this Python is not compulsory. Means apart from Python, we can use some other languages as well. We can use Java. We can use R. Or we also have some old language, like you can go for Octave, like Java, R. So it's not like that only Python is only available. Apart from Python, you can implement these algorithms in other languages as well, Java and R. But out of all these, the learning curve of Python is the smallest. Means if you are very beginner, or if you are even not from the CS background, if you are from other branch, so still you can learn Python in a very small span of time. In a very less span of time, you can learn the Python. It is one of the most easiest language to learn by your own. Means you can learn even by your own. There are lots of content available online. And but this is the kind of a translator that is just like in Java we have compiler, in C++ we have compiler. It's a kind of a translator, and that is known as interpreter. So its learning curve is smallest and it is the simplest language. That's why we are using Nova. And but where are we going to write on the code? So code can be in either Notepad. Just like you see that I have just opened this Notepad. I have just written this. So this is a Notepad. I can write on my code of machine learning over here. Or we can use idle. This is another ID. Gets installed along with the Python. Or we can go with the PyCharm. Or we can go with the Spider. Or we can go with this. So these all are the platform where we are going to write on the code of the data science. This is the platform where we are going to I'll say that we have to write on this code. And after installing this one, we need to install all these plugins of machine learning and data science. So there are multiple plugins. So few of them I have written it, like NumPy, Matplotlib, Pandas. So these are all of the libraries that we need to install it. And after all the installation, then you can start working off all the any hands-on implementation of it's just, you can install it. But this technique is as a beginner, I do not recommend to go for this first method, because it involves lots of expertise, and you need to take care of their installation sequence, their version compatibility, and lots of things are there. You need to so this is not a convenient way for the beginner, the first method. But second method is the most easiest and recommended way for hands-on implementation. So just install the software. Name of Anaconda. Software name is Anaconda. That software name is Anaconda. Now, this Anaconda contains, let me show that this Anaconda contains this Python part that is already there available, that is there. Inside the Anaconda, all these AI libraries are also available. They are also available. And this spider as an ID, it is also available. So you can see that here we have this spider part. So if you install Anaconda, it has everything in this one. It has Python converter, the translator that is known as interpreter is there. It has all the AI libraries. It has all the IDs. Everything is there. So you need to install Anaconda. So everything will be available. But apart from Spider, uh, I like PyCharm more, but this is not going to get installed along with Anaconda. You can install it separately. And again, see, this is just your preference, your personal preference. You can work with a Spider or you can work with a PyCharm. Can you see that here? This is the Spider. This is one of the Spider. This is the look and feel of a Spider. You can write on the code either in Spider, or we can write on the code in the PyCharm. So I have shown both of you. You can see that I have both of them with me. So we can write it on the code anywhere in this one. So I'll be explaining all the logic in any one of the way, or you can use even Jupyter. Jupyter is also there. You can use Jupyter. Or third one is, and the third one is Colab. So as a beginner, I do not recommend to go for Colab because here everything will be pre-installed setup over there, and you always need internet to work with that. So if you go ahead with that, so everything you can see, you can do experiment, all the libraries will be available with you. So every control will be in your hand. So I recommend that you should install Anaconda. So for tomorrow's session, I recommend that just download this software if you do not have. So if you're a very beginner, just download this Anaconda software. Oh, I have got 40 queries. Just a minute. Yes. So I have given you all the options. You can choose any one of these options. So from my side, there is no compulsion. There will be the same logic. We can go ahead with all these logics. So you can write on the code anywhere. All right, you can go for Colab, VS Code, everything. These all are the very easy. So you can go with the Jupyter. Yes, Sujita ma'am, you can go with the Colab. So if you already know the Colab, or if you know one of the features, so you can, why not you try to attempt to learn something else? If you are already familiar with the Colab, you can go ahead with the PyCharm as well. So you will get the opportunity to learn it. All right. So if you already have installed Anaconda, please do not download and reinstall. I repeat, if you already have, Chandrika sir, if you already have Anaconda and Spider, do not install. That is sufficient. Okay. See, for Anaconda, technically from officially, they say that 2 GB of RAM is sufficient. But again, that is minimum requirement. Means in computer, there should not be any other software other than the Anaconda. Then only 2 GB is required. But broadly, I'll say that 8 GB is a very good optimum output. But even if you have a 6 GB of RAM, then also that will work properly. 4 to 6 GB, that will work. And even if you have a new laptop of i3 of later generation of or i5, even older generation, then also that will work, no issues. Yes, Gandhiraj, that's right. Yeah. So we can go with Jupyter as well. Prakash sir, because from tomorrow we'll start the hands-on implementation part, then I'll give you the link where I'll upload the data that we'll be using for the experiment. All right, I think Savita ma'am, I think, but I'll say that 2 GB RAM is only, that is theoretically, I could say that that will work, okay. But on empirical ground, I could say that at least 6 to 8 GB is going to be for optimum performance. Yeah, I think Arna ma'am, okay, I think so many have asked the link. Okay, so let me show you that from where you have to download it, especially those who are very new from this field. So let me open this. Okay. So those who are very new from this field, so I'm showing you that. Um, so I could say that I have already 74 messages that I have not yet, I could not see because all these messages came all along with me. So I'll try to read one by one and I'll answer your queries one by one. But let me, before that, I'll show you that how can we download this. So we can open, okay. So now you can see that we can do it very easily in a very simple way. Uh, Arna ma'am, I will be explaining in uh, Anaconda Jupyter and PyCharm. And I'll also show in the first beginning program, I'll also show how to do all these steps in the Spider as well. But maximum I'll be explaining in PyCharm and Jupyter. So you can write down Anaconda download in the Google. And once if you write down Anaconda Google, you will get this option individual edition. So you can click on this individual edition. So if you click on this individual edition, so you can see that your data science. So this FDP, for this FDP, the data science toolkit will be available from here. So you have to just click on the bottom. You have to go to the bottom, scroll. And in the last, can you see that there are three options? So yes, Gajapati sir, that's sure. I'm sharing the link. Yeah, I'm sharing the link in the chat box. I'm sharing this link in the chat box. I'm just shared that link. Okay, so in that case, Parag, then I recommend that you can go for the collab. Then the collab is the best option. Yes, that's right, Venkat. So here you can see if you're Mac, so or according to Mac or Linux, you can download your appropriate version. So I recommend you can go ahead with these two options, either Windows or Mac. So and most of the new laptop they normally have 64-bit architecture, so you can download this one. If you have old version, then you can download this one. Okay, yes, Bharti ma'am, if and so you can do one thing, you can download and install. Installation is quite simple. Just double click the installer and just click next, and all that will get downloaded and installed. And apart from that, you just for tomorrow's session, you just please download it. Arna ma'am, you can you can install this one. That graphical is also okay. No issues. That graphical is also no issue. Yes, you can download on Windows 7 as well. That will work on Windows 7, no issues. PyCharm latest version is not going to work on Windows 7. So just try to install it. And then like if you're having Windows 7, so please ensure that your machine is having 32-bit architecture or 64-bit. So accordingly, then you can download it. You can choose it. Sure. Uh, at least I tried to answer all of your questions, but still around more than 85 messages I could not see. Oh, I think let me share this example. Let me share it. I'm sharing this link again. So I try to answer every questions, but still if I missed, you can repost your queries or questions, so I'll answer it. Thank you so much of this, sir. Thank you so much for this such a nice compliment. Jay Bharti ji, there is no link for feedback. In fact, the feedback link will be shared in the last of the FDP or in the mid of the FDP. Okay. So that's all from my side. And I recommend that please uh, Okay, Pooja ma'am, let me tell you that frankly, I never worked on any project of data science in which I used that ASP.NET. But of course, you can do that, Miss. I work with the C sharp language, but C sharp language we can easily do that, Miss. In fact, data science is a concept, but if we'll use Python and these, so Python, it's number one, we can learn it very, very easily, and it is specially designed. We have specially designed kits so that will help you to implement the concept of operation broadcasting. These are the features which are not available in .NET. So we can implement, but again, the logic and length coding will be very, very lengthy as compared to if we implement via Python. All right, so thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. So I recommend that please for tomorrow's session, please at least download it. Even if you're not able to install, it's okay, but at least download the software because it's a quite big software. It takes time, so 10 to 15 minutes depending upon your internet speed. So please keep it download. At least keep it download for tomorrow's session so that we can do some hands-on part of this data science. Oh, thank you so much.